Welcome back to Battle Cage. It's your boy Saif, and I am absolutely ecstatic to be back with my UFC Tampa full reaction recap video. A lot of these guys put them out yesterday. I was just too high, too high on my own supply. I was really riding the high of the card. It was a great card. You can arguably say that this was the best UFC fight night for the entire 2024. It just delivered from the very first fight to the very last fight. It had the oohs, the ahs, it had entertainment, it had knockouts, it had submissions. It just overall delivered. It was a spectacular card. It was from behind, a little bit of controversy with the Yanez fight, little split decision. But you know what? It is what it is. So let's get right into it. UFC Tampa took place yesterday, December 14th, and it delivered, and it delivered well. A lot of people probably made good amounts of money. I had a one parlay going into it. I had my original parlay from the Make the Bet. That actually cashed as well at plus 148. Closer to the end of the at the last minute yesterday, I kind of switched up a little bit. I went with a 3-leg picker. That cashed as well. I don't know. There was some kind of funny business with Miranda Maverick, and although she delivered, it just didn't like. But you know what? Let's get into the video and dissect everything. So the very first fight, Knutsson versus Pierre Rodriguez. Knutsson comes in as a moderate 2-1 favorite. Pierre Rodriguez cashes as a dog here. The name of this fight was very simple, and that's for Pierre Rodriguez to control, and control. I mean, 8 out of 10 takedowns speak volumes over here. You cannot say anything about that. The striking as well. Total strikes, 86 to 67. It was a total domination for Pierre Rodriguez from the very opening of the fight. She had over 10 minutes of control time here. So, I mean, just even if you go round by round, as you can see, look, 4 takedowns in round 1, 3 takedowns in round 2, 1 takedown in round 4. Pretty decisive. You cannot say anything. If you want to look by position, a lot of it came in the clinch and in the standing as well as the ground. So evenly implemented game plan for Pierre Rodriguez, and she gets it done. And this is why I don't bet the first fight, even if I see a dog value. I just don't want to start on the wrong night, on the wrong foot, and then just become a chaser the entire time. So one of the rules here, hate it or love it, we're gonna skip the very first fight, but I saw tremendous value on Pereira Rodriguez. Let's move on. All right, next fight we had Davy Grant, the veteran, the battle tested, the OG, someone that I told you is a live play situation, someone that I saw tremendous value on, someone that I respected, and no offense to Ramon Taveras, I just don't think he has shown us enough for him to be a favorite. But nevertheless, as the week progressed, it was Davy Grant who actually closed as a small favorite. So tremendous value on Davy Grant from the betting perspective. In terms of the fight, it was a pretty decisive, one-sided affair. Quick summary right here. I mean, completely outlands 147, significant strikes to 67. It was a completely on the foot affair. No takedowns, no ground game. Just a slugfest for 3 rounds. A very technical slugfest. And Davy Grant comes out with a unanimous round 3 decision here, as you can see. Once again, this is the tail of the fight. Pretty significant. There was no takedowns. There's no control times. It was just straight boxing affair. And Davy Grant gets the job done. Kudos on him. I actually had him in one of my parlays that didn't cash because later on we'll talk about Vitor Patrino. But in any case, let's move forward. All right, moving down along, we had Miranda Maverick, who closed a really high favorite, close to 1,000. Like, she was up there at certain books. I mean, really up there, like close to minus 1,000 certain books. Um, pretty pretty decisive. She definitely won the fight, but she's a future fade. There was a moment where, well, first of all, Jamie Lynn Horth was a much bigger girl. She was like 5'7" to 5'3". So the physicality advantage was there for Jamie Lynn Horth. Miranda Maverick implemented her ground game really well. She had 2 out of 9 takedowns. But Jamie Lynn Horth, there was a moment where I believe in the second round, she got the control of Miranda Maverick. And had she been a much better fighter, a much more cerebral fighter, she probably could have gotten Miranda Maverick out. So because of that, women's MMA, even though I picked Miranda Maverick and initially played Miranda Maverick, closer to the end, I said, you know what? I don't want to die with women's MMA. I don't want to be that guy that sits here and gives you guys unnecessary excuses. So I actually took Miranda Maverick out, and I'll get to my final parlay later on. But yeah, took her out. But she did win. She did win. She came through nevertheless. But she's a future fate. I'll tell you this much. Just I don't know. She did her best. That's all I'm gonna. Pretty okay, lackluster kind of fight. So we had women's fights, really close back to back, almost with the Davy Grant. So it was like, yo, we going to decision. What kind of card is this? But stay tuned. Let's see what happened next. Felipe Lima took on Miles Johns. Miles Johns once again, a strong, stocky dude with incredible wrestling pedigree, but just doesn't use it. He just doesn't use it. He's just a little baby version of, pardon me, of Yoel Romero, who comes in here, looking good physically, but just doesn't deliver. He shells up too much for my liking. The tail of the fight here, it's pretty decisive. Lima definitely gets the final unanimous decision. This is the overall summary: 55 significant strikes to 31. Miles Johns did the best he could. Third round was probably his best round, where he let everything go. But Felipe Lima just 2 out of 5 takedowns, controlled it. He had 2 minutes and 50, almost 3 minutes of control time. I mean, he did enough. He even had a submission attempt. So, he did enough. Miles Johns, at this point, I think he's creeping at what, like 30 age. I think he's like 30 at this point. Let me see. Yeah, he's 30. So it's not that he's old. I just feel like he's not a UFC pedigree fighter where you got like a second fight in the UFC. Felipe Lima, was his second fight in the UFC, and he's winning you, and he's winning you, decisively, making you look like an amateur. So I'm not sending him home packing, but I'm pretty much convinced that his suitcase is ready to go. Like that's how I feel. I think he'll be successful in other organizations, but someone that just doesn't use his IQ, and he never did. He always lacked that. He's very strong. He has the knockout potential, and when he uses his wrestling, he's just absolutely superb. But didn't use it here. Didn't even try. Did he even try? Let me see. He 0 for 1 takedown. Like, I mean, come on. He should have been a little bit more aggressive with the takedowns, if you ask me personally. But, unanimous decision for Felipe Lima. He definitely belongs. A great addition to the featherweight weight class. So let's move forward. All right. The next fight, man, first round, Sean Woodson takes out Fernando Padilla. And I believe Fernando Padilla had his gloves off. So he probably is done, because that was a nasty knockout. He's still very young, Fernando Padilla, but he took his gloves off. And I love Mexican fighters. I love them to death. They come in with good, crisp boxing skills. They come with the Mexican chin that they're very notorious. But Fernando Padilla, man, I don't know. From the jump, I mean, he was putting work. He was putting work on Sean Woodson, so I'm not gonna take that away from him. Look at the striking summary really quick. 22. So he was in his fight, but Sean Woodson was outclassing him and outpiecing him, and literally with 2 seconds. Look, 2 seconds at 4 minutes and 58 seconds, he gets him out. If you haven't watched the knockout, watch the knockout. This knockout really kind of started the new theme of the night, because we were writing like decisions, and it was kind of boring. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like literally falling asleep in the previous fights. But then I saw this knockout, and it just woke me the hell up. So Sean Woodson, closer to the end of the fight, I think like a 6 seconds or 8 seconds, they get in a very close exchange. And Padilla, instead of using his striking, because he's literally like Sean Woodson, very tall for the weight class, rangy. So instead of keeping the range, you know what I'm saying, he's really close. He's in a barn burner. They're slugging it out. 1-2 piece combination. Sean Woodson drops him, finishes him on the ground. Great knockout. Takes out Fernando Padilla. Sean Woodson is that sneaky guy that we're not talking about. He's calling out for to be ranked. I don't disagree. He could be ranked. Let's actually hover along in the rankings. In the featherweight is right here. So top 15: Edson Barbosa, Dan Ige, Bryce Mitchell. You could argue he could be top 15, but then you would have to kick out Edson Barbosa. I don't know how do I feel about that per se. But he wants to be ranked, or at least maybe give him the next ranked fighter. You know what I'm saying? Give him a really high caliber fighter. I think Sean Woodson, Giga Chikadze would be a good fight. I don't know how I feel about Dan Ige. I think Dan Ige really could put some work on Sean Woodson, if you ask me personally. But does he deserve to be ranked at this point? I would say so. Just don't know how I feel about kicking out Edson Barbosa from the rankings. But man, Sean Woodson really on a tear. I think he's on a 5-win streak right now. He's really putting in that work. He's growing. He's developing. He's not getting any younger. He's 32, so he's probably peaking. He's peaking right now. But if you look at look at his fights right here. He had a win against England back in 2021. He had a draw against Saldana. He beat Bozukia. He beat Charles Jourdain. That looks good. He beat Alex Caceres. Alex Caceres was actually on a little run there, and he just took out Padilla. So, yeah, I mean, pretty decent competition, UFC-worthy competition. So he's really, really dialing in right now. Someone we got to watch. But if he fights a wrestler, if you ask me, it's going to be a bad night for Sean Woodson. He's really tall. He's really, lengthy. He got these skinny legs. So if he fights a crazy, top tier, top 10 caliber fighter, he's gonna get taken down. And that's pretty much how I feel about Sean Woodson. But in the striking, really crazy long range boxing, and he packs power in those skinny arms. So great outing for Sean Woodson. He gets the job done. Let's move forward. Man, the next fight. Joel Alvarez, superstar. He's such a big guy for the division, like 6'1", 6'2". Let me see this. What's his official height? Do they even list him here? But yeah, El Fenomeno. Let me see. Do I have him here? Give me a second. Yeah, man, this guy is 6'3", man. He really reminds me of a young Dan Hooker. I said that a lot. He has 5 wins by knockout, 17 submissions. He has a really decent record. As of now, he's 22-3. So good on him. I mean, he's a really, really high caliber fighter. I think highly of him. With the exception of the loss to Arman Tsarukyan, who's fighting for the damn strap. You know what I'm saying? He's fighting for the strap. He has done well. He took out Thiago Moises. That's a great win. Knockout. He took out Yakovlev via round 1 submission. Took out Diakaze submission. Took out Brenner earlier. Not earlier, like mid-year in August. And he just took out Drakkar Klose. Drakkar Klose definitely on the end of the pendulum, but still, you know what I'm saying? A tough competitor, but he takes him out round 1 KO. He actually had him in a little choke position, so if he wanted to, he could actually maybe transition to a Darce. But round 1, Little just grabs him, stuns him. There was a little exchange, left-right combination, wobbles close to the fence. I think he connected with a knee. I think it was his left knee that connected straight to the face of Klose. That kind of dropped him. He catches him literally. This is his arm, catches him like this, right? And goes to town and takes out Klose by knockout in the very first round. It was a high caliber pick. I was completely sold on Alvarez. I knew he was going to get it down. Now he's talking about moving up in weight. He is 31 years of age. So at this frame, 6'3", I can understand why it's getting harder to cut to 155. I totally get it. I mean, we've seen Dan Hooker drop even down to 145. He wasn't successful. So it's really hard for these fighters, and he has muscle mass. He's not a small guy. He packs enough muscle mass, and I think he could look incredible. I mean, we saw the run that Michael Chiesa did. Remember, he went up to 170 and he looked good. And I feel like with his skill set, he will do good in the welterweight. It's yet to be determined. I can only imagine 15 pounds extra weight on Yoel Alvarez. And I mean, he could be a contender. So definitely a phenomenal outing for Alvarez, and great win. So let's move forward. All right. Let's move forward. We are now, this fight, man. This fight also delivered. Michael Johnson, round 2, nasty knockout. If you didn't watch this knockout, please stop this video right now and go to UFC, go to ESPN, and check out the nasty. And I gotta say, this was personal because the referee let two huge ground and pound shots for Michael Johnson to just tee off on Azaitar. It was a good competitive out. So if you look closely, Azaitar 16 significant strikes to 19. So I'm not gonna say that Azaitar was getting his ass kicked. No, Azaitar was in this fight, kill or be killed kind of guy, and he has 3 losses, KO consecutively. So it's safe to say that Azaitar is out of here. He came in with a really good record, but 3 losses consecutively. Getting knocked out, getting his head pieced out is just, he's definitely done. Michael Johnson here takes him out round 2 at the 2-minute mark, and KO, vicious KO, nasty, just in a barn burner exchange. They were literally clubbing it out, and gets caught on the way down. He's literally dropping. When he dropped, he was already out, but Michael Johnson took that little exchange with him personally, because Azaitar is always in your face, throwing the finger, like too much for my liking. And Michael Johnson just goes bam, bam, 2 big shots for the road. That's 2 big shots for the road. So he's never gonna forget that knockout. So great outing for Michael Johnson. That is, a very vintage Michael Johnson KO. Let's move forward. All right. We went into the prelims were done. This was the main card. Navajo Stirling making his debut against Tokkos, and I'm highly disappointed. I actually switched up Stirling because Stirling was the biggest favorite, minus 1,300, and I thought he's gonna get it done. I thought he's gonna knock out Tokkos in the very first round. The man goes to a third round decision. I mean, playing the devil's advocate, you could argue that Navajo Stirling kind of gassed out and didn't want to get taken down because he was getting taken down. Tokkos had 3 takedowns. Let me see. Actually, no, he had three out of 9 takedowns. And the way Navajo performed, had he fought someone a high caliber 205er with some wrestling pedigree, I think it was a terrible outing. I'm not gonna say future fade yet. Because, like I said, I'm going to play the devil's advocate, and I'm going to say, you know what? Maybe he played conservatively. He didn't want to blow his gas tank. He just wanted a W. So that's fine. Let's give him one pass. But I didn't like the outing. I'm going to give him an F for the very first routing. Straight up, I think he failed in my eyes. But I'm going to give him one more chance. I'm a fair grader. I'm going to give him one more chance. I just think overall it was a bad performance. Tokkos, I think he's gone. I don't think he's gonna be fighting in UFC anymore. I know they gave him a little layup because he came through for UFC prior on the last minute type of ordeal, short notice. So they gave him another chance. Navajo Stirling packs a lot of power. He's incredible. He has a great physique. He has all the tools in his arsenal, if you ask me. But just, I don't know. He had all the time, all the chances, 3 rounds to take out Tokkos, and he didn't. So I'm not very pleased with his performance, and like I said, I'm gonna give him an F for his performance. There were times where he could have knocked out Tuco. And if you look at the summary, 33 head strikes. I think he could have just easily knocked him out. There were times where he was really just like holding his arm like this and not letting it go, because when he was connecting, when he was going to the body, when he was going with the uppercuts, he was connecting. I just don't know why he couldn't finish the fight. But hey, I'm not the man who's in the ring fighting, right? It's these guys. So let's move forward. All right, Adrian Yanez versus Daniel Marcos. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I had Adrian Yanez in this fight, and I thought he was gonna come through. I really did. I was pushing for Yanez here. This is the fighting summary right here. Split decision loss. Split decision loss. Daniel Marcos comes out on top. Here's a striking summary. Really close fight. The fight started with a little bit of controversy. Daniel Marcos kicks Yanez in the nuts and eye pokes him in the same combination. Like, that was crazy. Getting your nuts kicked and getting your eye poked at the same time. But like the warrior Yanez is, he decides to fight. There was no point deduction, which I found pretty absurd. I think like he could have just easily tapped out. That could have been because it was a first round. That's not enough to judge the fight. It could have went to a no contest, But he decided to fight. He did pretty good, if you ask me. He did enough to get the split decision loss, and I believe he lost the fight because he lost the first round, and that's unanimous across the board. He won the second round. That's unanimous. Whoever you're gonna check, all the scorecards will tell you the same. The media, whatever. It's the third round. It's literally the third round, and particularly at around 1 minute mark, I would say what I remember from my memory is the 50-second mark, and it was just when Daniel Marcos is gassed. That's post 2 takedowns with no damage, if I might add. So Daniel Marcos definitely got the 2 takedowns in the fight, but very little damage. The third round, Adrian Yanez loses a lot of time because of the takedown, and this is him standing, and Daniel Marcos is on the back foot. Adrian Yanez is pushing it. 1 minute to go. You should have let everything go. I believe this is where Adrian Yanez dropped the ball. He didn't deliver at the most crucial time, and instead of letting it go and doing what you were supposed to be doing, what you were doing for the entire length of the fight, you were throwing your hands, you were throwing leg kicks. You decide to go for a clinch at the most important time of the fight. I think that was terrible IQ moment for Adrian Yanez. He loses valuable time, and then he decides to go balls to the wall with 4 seconds remaining. Really not enough. Had he emptied his gas tank at the 50-second mark and left the impression in the judges like, hey, I was on my ass, but there was no damage. But look at me. I'm standing, I'm pressuring him, and I'm really throwing it. Had he done that, I believe he could have won the fight, and maybe would have went his way. By engaging in the clinch, really drops the ball here. A terrible loss for Adrian Yanez. And I'm sure a lot of MMA betting community was rooting for Adrian Yanez. So let's move forward. Oh my goodness. Next fight, same thing. This was crazy. Vitor Patrino gets flat. I mean, just completely flatlined by Dustin Jacoby. Literally minutes away from the fight, from the end of the fight. Third round TKO for Justin Jacoby. One of his nastiest performance. Seriously. I mean, and I mean that in a bad way. It was a good knockout, but it was a decent outing. It was relatively close. You look at the striking, total strikes 47 to 40 for Dustin, but the more damaging shots was for Vitor Patrino. I believe he was on his way to winning a decision here, a very boring decision, but still a decision. But not to take anything away from Patrino, he actually came in with a sense of urgency, and he was throwing some significant power shots that actually put damage on Dustin Jacoby's face. That was very, very evident. And until that knockout, Vitor Patrino's face was clean. No cuts, no bumps, no nothing, right? He looked clean. But it was literally at the last, like I said, minutes into the end of the fight. There was one time I looked at the lines, and it was like Vitor Patrino is minus 1,000. So he was projected to win a unanimous decision, if you ask me. And then out of nowhere, 1-2 piece combination once again. Dustin Jacoby catches a massive right on Patrino and just takes him out just completely. He just drops. Definitely highlight worthy knockout. So Dustin Jacoby gets the job done. Like I said, he was on his way of losing this fight, and he just pulled it out of the hat. That was insane. Let's move forward. All right, next fight. I got to tell you, Manel Kape originally was one of my high-level picks. I kind of bought into the hype a little bit with Bruno Silva, but Manel Kape had a star performance. His attitude is still work in progress, but man, from the very first, from as soon as the bell rang, look, 111 significant total strikes to 60. There was no takedowns. He actually stuffed all the takedowns from Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva went for 0-5, so stuffed all the takedowns. Didn't want anything to do with the wrestling game. Completely let it slug it out, and he started beating on Bruno from the first round into the very end of the third round, where he knocked him out with a beautiful combination. You could argue a little bit of controversy, low shot, but listen, Bruno Silva was not kicking him the entire fight. I think he took like 3 cup checks. So still, whatever. We gotta let it go. And no, the last low kick to Manel Kape. He was not faking it. That was painful because it went right. His toes went right in there. You know what I mean? So I'll let that pass. But beautiful low kick to the body, I would say, into body work combination, gets him against the fence and just bam, takes him out. I loved it. During the performance, he was playing basketball. He was, showboating. He was, bopping and weaving. It was beautiful to watch. It was the best Manel Kape we have seen to date. It was his best performance. I did not expect that. Although I picked him, did not expect this caliber performance. So I'm gonna say Manel Kape gets the job done. He gets it done very decisively. And I'm not hating him being next for Pantoja at all. I will not hate that fight. I think it will be a good fight. And after this performance, I mean, who else is there in the flyweight division? Who else? There is absolutely nobody. We could take a look in the flyweight division right now. There's absolutely nobody for Pantoja. Brandon, I mean, we've already seen that. Moreno, we've already seen that. Amir Abazi, he just got killed by Moreno. Kakar France, possibly. Tatsuro Taira, he's still kind of like climbing in ranks, even though he just lost the fight to Royval. So, I mean, there's really nobody in here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't see anybody. So, Manel kind of makes sense. You could have a number 1 contender fight, maybe Manel versus Kaikar France, to build up the flyweight division, to keep the ball rolling, to make it more entertaining. Kaikar France talks a lot of shit. There's a little bit of a heated rivalry with Kaikar France, so that would be beautiful. We had Kaikar France, I think, pull out, and then we had a short replacement for Manel Kape. So Manel Kape versus Kaikar France for the number one contender. That sounds good to me. To keep the excitement in the flyweight division, to build the fight up. Like, yo, you can't just get Pantoja. You gotta get to Pantoja. So Kaikar France, if the powers that be, Kaikar France, Manel Kape, number 1 contender, make this fight happen. That would be beautiful. That would be beautiful in my opinion. So that's what I'm going for. I believe this was Manel Kape's one of the best performances. He didn't get the performance bonus, which I think is kind of ludicrous, if you ask me. He definitely deserved a performance bonus. But yeah, in the co-main event, we had Swanson taking on Billy Q. This was such a good fight. It was a scrap. Look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie. 114 to 108 strikes. Swanson was there from the beginning to the end. Took some earlier damages. in the very first round. You know what I'm saying? But he was still in there. Round two, as you can see, very close. There was Kape Swanson was always in this fight. And check out the highlight reel. Kape Swanson, a walk-off knockout over Billy Q. Again, in the third round. It was just a beautiful spectacle. Out of nowhere, comes in as a dog, by the way. Kape Swanson entered this fight as a small dog. He was a moderate dog, plus 180 coming into this fight. Billy Q definitely late action on him. Comes in, and again, he was in this fight. He looked vintage Kape Swanson. Just 1-2 piece, knocks out Billy Q. Billy Q, man, I like Billy Q, but he took out the hometown favorite. And it is what it is, right? But kudos for Kape Swanson. In terms of what I think in his personal life, man, I think he could get one more fight. He looked good enough. Now, if he says I want to retire, and you walk away on the top of the mountain with that KO, no one's gonna talk shit. But I'm not hating him running it back with maybe another veteran as a closing fight, and that way he will say, you know what, this is my last fight, win or lose, this is my last fight. Here he was kind of contemplating, thinking, but it was a slugger fest. First round, second round, third round. Billy Q was trying to go for takedown attempts. He actually got 3 takedowns over Kape Swanson. Kape Swanson showed incredible takedown defense and get-up game, so that was very beautiful to watch. 41 years young, and he's still kicking ass. So I'm not hating another fight for Kape Swanson. I don't want to retire fighters. He definitely looked like he belonged there. And let's move forward. All right, boys. The main event, man, I was absolutely sold on Joaquin Buckley. I knew 100% he was gonna win. A lot of late action came in on Colby Covington. Colby Covington was like huge plus money. I want to say plus 230, plus 240, and then he closed in at plus 170. A lot of late action. He had Chael Sonnen in his corner. I think that kind of drove the public to Colby Covington. He was very confident. Everybody was waiting for the vintage Colby to come out, but nah, man. Even with Hulkamania, he comes out a beautiful entrance with Hulk Hogan, Hulkamania. It was beautiful. It was beautiful to watch. But yeah, it was just not enough. Not enough, if you ask me. Joaquin Buckley, he came in with a mission. He came in to retire Colby. I think Colby's done. Very early in the round, or very early in the very second round, earlier in the fight, he cuts Colby really bad right here in the upper eyelid, and it was just night after that. It was just night after that. Just from the very first, you saw the difference in physicality. Joaquin Buckley showed incredible takedown defense, and as soon as he started stuffing Colby's takedowns, it was over. It was literally over from there. I knew it was over. There was a moment where Colby had a little takedown, and he kind of grinded out a little bit, but it was just not enough. I saw Colby was not weathered. I'm sorry. Joaquin was not weathered. He was there. The new Mansa, peak of peak. He's in his peak prime. He looks like he looks like a freaking Ninja Turtle. He's built like a Ninja Turtle. Big upper body, huge chest, big muscles. And his cardio was good. He did not look tired. I feel like he could have went 4th, 5th round. So he's definitely a 5-round kind of fighter. No blemish on that. Gets the job done. Completely violates Colby Covington. They say pictures is worth 1,000 words. You can see right here, the cut was really bothering Colby. This is a picture from the later rounds. You can definitely see like he kept wiping his eye. It was bad. He was completely battered. I mean, blood draining down his face. It was tough to watch. So that fight ending sequence where the ref stops the fight and says, "Yo, I can't do it anymore." I agree. Definitely. Definitely, it was the right call to stop the fight because Joaquin Buckley was just gonna keep going. Now Dana White says, in Las Vegas they let it go. For how long? For how long more? Because, man, Joaquin Buckley was just not gonna stop the pressure. Colby has a chin. Colby definitely has a chin. We gotta respect the chin. He's too tough for his own right. He made money. He's good. He does not need this anymore. He got a whole poker thing going. Yeah, I think he should retire. There's nobody in the top 8 that he can beat at the current moment, and there's really no interesting fights for Colby. So I'm definitely gonna be sending Colby packing, and with Atma Azaitar, because I think they're done. But new Mansa Buckley, it's a force to be reckoned with, and I'm really, really interested to see what 2025 has in store for Joaquin Buckley. Overall, I'm going to give this card 10 out of 10. It started a little slow, but starting from Sean Woodson and forward, with the exception of Navajo Stirling, and Yanez dropping the ball, still great performances, really entertaining, great production value from UFC, and it was a great way to close the 2024 in Tampa. So hats off to UFC once again getting it done. And see you guys next year for the UFC content in terms of breaking and betting. Oh, and by the way, let me just give you guys my ticket. All right, so we hit with the 3-picker. I told you I changed it up. Navajo Stirling, Joaquin Buckley, and Joel Alvarez. I went with 153 because I cashed out on my earlier parlay. Went in with that, and I was able to win that. So carrying some units forward, and I immediately played the entire 297.46 into my next parlay, which is going to be January 18th card. And it's going to be my 2-picker. As you can see, it's going to be Umar Nurmagomedov. I think he violates Merab there, and Islam Makhachev. I think he's just levels above Arman Tsarukyan, and that's just my personal opinion. Anyway, like and subscribe. You already know what to do. I'm going to see you. Bye.